This is a 1934 Aston Martin Ulster, and if you think Aston Martin started with James Bond driving a DB5, you are very, very wrong. This is a company with a rich pre-war history dating right back to 1913. This represents the glory days of Aston's pre-war racing heritage. This is a 1.5 litre Aston Martin Ulster, so named after the famous TT race in Ireland, the Royal Automobile Club TT race. It is an exceptional car. This car finished 15th as a privateer entry at Le Mans in 1935, and it's a car which represents the peak of British sports car development during that period, and it beat the best of the continental competition from the likes of Alfa Romeo. A remarkable piece of kit, and it's coming up for sale at our Tegernsee auction at the end of July. And it really does represent a very, very rare opportunity to own a very special pre-war sports car. So let's go for a drive. Now, I'm not especially tall, so getting in and out of a pre-war car like this, not exactly easy, but it's not too bad. Look at this dashboard, classic pre-war dashboard, an absolute array of switches. To start this, we only need to worry about a few of them. We got one big switch there which turns on fuel pumps and the magneto. We turn on the dynamo, and we've got a start button here. Let's go. So here I am on board this very, very fine Aston Martin Ulster, a car that finished 15th at Le Mans. Think about that for a moment. The world's most historic motor race, and this car came 15th overall. I love that. This car left the factory and was sold into private hands. Many of the Ulsters were run as factory entries. 31 Ulsters were built in total, and this car was bought new by privateer amateur racer Goldie Gardner, a relatively inexperienced driver in 1935 when he entered Le Mans, and he partnered with Frederick Bonnet, an equally inexperienced driver, but remarkably they ended up coming 15th. How about that? The Ulster was built to meet the regulations for the Royal Automobile Club Ulster TT. And although it's not the fastest or lightest sports car of its age, it's an incredibly satisfying car to drive. It's a very, very sure-footed machine. Sounds fantastic. Ignore my little crutch there on the upshift. It's got plenty of performance, and for a 1500cc four-cylinder engine, it has a very decent amount of torque. And it's quite comfortable. And I guess that's really what you want to need. That's really what you need if you're going to sit in a car for 24 hours and pound around Le Mans. Reliability for any endurance race is key, and they did manage to get these cars very reliable. It's got a very solid dry sump lubrication system, which lends itself brilliantly for competition use. There are a few tricky foibles. It has a centre throttle, so you've got to have your wits about you, should I say, in order to make sure you're pressing the right pedal at the right time. And it's also got a 4-speed gearbox that works in reverse. First is where you would normally find third on a conventional gearbox. So that needs a little bit of thinking about. And I can imagine in a racing scenario, you've got to make sure you're very, very familiar with it. Otherwise you can get into all sorts of trouble. This car's coming up for sale at Tegernsee at the end of this month, at the end of July. Our first summer auction in Germany. Quite a small sale in conjunction with the new Concours of Elegance out there. And we've got a very high quality offering. And this is one of the very high quality cars that we've got in that sale. Pre-war cars with Le Mans history don't grow on trees. It's a rare opportunity. And this car has been loved and cherished. Very well documented history. A very thorough restoration a few years ago by a marque expert, Curie Patelli, in the UK. What a car! Register to bid if you want a very fine pre-war Aston Martin.